Everyone is asking for my quarterback rankings. I didn't do an article on the quarterbacks like I did with the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And there's a simple reason why. I think one thing that separates me from all other football analysts is I know the edges of my own competency. This is something that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger continually preach. Being smart is overrated. You don't want to be the smartest man in the room. You want to be the most often correct man in the room. So my leg up on my competition is, in many cases, my intellectual humility. I know the edges of my own competency, and I don't stray very far beyond that. On that point, I'll be the first one to admit I don't know anything when it comes to evaluating the quarterback position. I've tried to build prospect models for quarterbacks, and I've just never found anything that worked or anything that I felt very comfortable with. So over the years, I've saved myself a great deal of reputation harm by never providing any analysis on the quarterbacks pre-draft. There are a lot of Malik Willis QB1, Will Levis QB1 takes that have aged quite poorly. Also a lot of Josh Allen is a guaranteed bust tweets that have been retweeted by Old Takes Exposed. This is going to be a short video. My quarterback rankings are pretty straightforward. With little deviation, I just rank the quarterbacks by the order in which they were drafted. But this year, there is one main deviation at the top. My quarterback one for rookie drafts is Anthony Richardson. And this one's easy. The dude is an absolute athletic freak. He's basically Vernon Davis with a cannon. That athleticism he offers, which hints at exponentially more rushing upside than any other quarterback in this class, that gives him a huge edge over Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young was drafted first. As a bonus, our film expert over at FantasyPoints.com, Brett Whitefield, thinks he's the best quarterback in this class from a non-fantasy perspective. And this landing spot is just about ideal for a hyper-mobile quarterback like Richardson, and maybe just flat out ideal for a young quarterback. His head coach, Stain Steichen, coached Jalen Hurts over the past 2 seasons. Over this span, Hurts ranked behind only Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in fantasy points per game, and he's only 0.1 fantasy points per game behind Mahomes. Steichen also coached Justin Herbert in his rookie year. That season, Herbert threw 31 touchdown passes and averaged 289 passing yards per game. Both numbers rank most all time by a rookie quarterback, and he averaged 22.9 fantasy points per game. That was 5.8 fantasy points per game more than what he averaged last year. After Richardson, things get easier. I'm really just ranking these quarterbacks in the order in which they're drafted. Bryce Young is QB2, CJ Stroud is QB3. Neither landing spot stands out to me as being particularly great. I don't love their pass catchers. I will say I like Stroud's landing spot a little bit more. I think his hyper accuracy is a great fit with Bobby Slowick, who comes from the Shanahan scheme that's designed around yards after the catch. It's just not anywhere near enough to put him ahead of Young's superior draft capital. And with Young, I do get the size concerns, and there haven't been very many quarterbacks successful at his size. Really just Doug Flutie, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray. And Young doesn't have anything close to Kyler Murray's hyper mobility. What Kyler does with his legs is in many ways more impressive to me than what Lamar Jackson does with his legs. And with Russell Wilson, he was hyper mobile early in his career, and then his athleticism has waned, and we haven't really seen much success from him of late. And he's really struggled of late. So I do think that is a valid concern, but Stroud has concerns as well. He had one of the best offensive lines in football last year, and he really struggled when under pressure. Ultimately, I'll just let the NFL tell me exactly how good these guys are. That's why I have Young QB2 and Stroud QB3. After them, there's a pretty long tier until we get to my QB4, Will Levis. I think round 2 draft capital doesn't really guarantee him much of anything. Tannehill only has 1 year left in his contract, but it's also possible to re-sign him, especially if Levis struggles in training camp. Head coach Mike Vrabel really didn't show much patience in Treylon Burks last year, and Tannehill has played a lot better than he's been given credit for, especially with the poor receivers he's been asked to play with. But then again, looking at their salary cap situation, it really wouldn't surprise me if they do move on from Tannehill. That does seem to be the most likely scenario, especially after reports that Tennessee was trying to move up to 103 if the Texans didn't take CJ Stroud. After Levis, there's another massive tier until we get to my QB5, Hendon Hooker. He's 25 years old, and round 3 draft capital really doesn't put Jared Goff on notice. And that's right. Dan Campbell has already said he has plans to sign Jared Goff over the next 15 months. But hey, who knows? If Hendon Hooker impresses them in training camp and Jared Goff struggles this season, perhaps it could be the Hendon Hooker show next year. After Hooker, there's another even bigger tier until we get to my QB6 and QB7. That's in order, Stetson Bennett and then Jake Haener. Round 4 draft capital basically implies impossible odds of being a long-term starter or a true fantasy football difference maker. There's basically only Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, and Gardner Minshew over the past, 20 something years. I do have Stetson Bennett above Jake Haener just because I think there's a clearer path towards immediate playing time given Matthew Stafford's lengthy injury history. And I mean, as late as March, there were still rumors he could even retire this year. So there you go. That's my rookie quarterback rankings. Again, not too involved. A lot of stuff I'm sure you were already aware of. My running back, wide receiver, and tight end rankings are far more involved. If you like this video, I recommend that you check those other videos out and head over to fantasypoints.com. Thanks for watching.